Hey guys, welcome to my channel. This is Ms.Wow to give you something to say wow about. As Chang 5 got the lunar sample and then came back, the moon becomes a hot topic. So what's China's future plan? How's the development of lunar exploration in different countries? And what's more, was Apollo 11 moon landing a fake? And have the astronauts seen the aliens on the moon? Today, I invited top Chinese space expert Ms. Yang Yuguang to use scientific facts to tell the legendary stories. Say hi to our followers.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Yang Yuguang. I come from China Aerospace, and my major field is space mission design and spacecraft design. So today, I'm very happy to join with our girl to discuss about the moon exploration and also other space-related topics.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you for being here. So don't miss out this chance to ask China's top space expert and leave your comments below. We will answer them for you. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Ms.Wow, on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and Instagram to know more about the mind-blowing China innovation that will change your life. So, today's latest news, Chinese scientists unboxed the lunar sample that Chang 5 brought back. So do you have any first-hand story to share with us?
So after the container is taken out from the re-entry capsule, we have measured the mass precisely. So we confirm that we got the mass of the total samples is about 1,731 grams. So you see that although originally we announced that our goal is to have about 2 kilograms of lunar reckless, but this is very natural. You see, there's still a slight change. Maybe we can less or more of these kind of samples. So today we have 1,700 grams of samples. Yeah. It's a complete success.
Okay, so China took the lunar samples, and what international corporations will implement in the future to further research the lunar and also the space?
Well, as we have already discussed yesterday, you see that in 1978, the U.S. government gave us 1 gram of lunar reckless as a gift. And Professor Yang Yuguang used half of them to study and publish many very meaningful and important articles on professional journals. Yeah. And the other half was exhibited in Beijing Planetarium. So if you go to the Beijing Planetarium, not very far from here, you can have the chance to see this half a gram of sample. But actually speaking, this sample is, according to Professor Yang Yuguang's analysis, it comes from sample of Apollo 17 mission. Yeah. So it is the last mission of US. So to your question, you see that before our samples, the human being already have 9 sample return missions from the moon, 6 from the Apollo and 3 from the former Soviet Union. And the 6 Apollo missions are manned missions, so they collect the samples by astronauts, which is very flexible and with a very huge amount. Actually speaking, the total amount is 381.7 kilograms of samples, so a huge amount. But you see, the Apollo program need a lot of investment, and after the first landing, first return of the Apollo 11 mission, as you mentioned, the total investment on the Apollo program is $25 billion. Yeah. You see, that's the money in 1960s, and today it's equivalent to, I believe, more than $200 billion. You see, of course, in the future, we will also, sooner or later, I believe we can have a manned mission, but that really needs a lot of money. Yeah. And the former Soviet Union, you know that their missions are Lunar 16, Lunar 20, and Lunar 24. Yeah. So all these 3 missions collect a very small amount of samples. Yep. And the total mass is about 326 grams, not kilograms.
Yeah, we took a huge amount of lunar sample back home. So we know that the Chang 5's mission has been a success. So the next question that many people may want to ask is that, how far away from the manned landing in China?
Well, my friends, Ms.Wow, the second female astronaut in space, also the first one to taught lessons in space, has expressed to the media that she hopes in the future to walk on the moon. So our astronauts has already pressed their wish to do so. Actually speaking, yesterday the leader of the CNSA also mentioned that for within this 10 years, our manned space program mainly focusing on constructing the manned space station, which is a low Earth orbit manned space station with a mass about 66 tons. So that will be the major task of China Manned Space Agency. But also in the current stage, we have many studies on the key technologies. For instance, you see that during the Apollo mission, they use a very huge launch vehicle called Saturn V. And the liftoff mass is almost 3,000, near 3,000 metric tons. So huge. So we China now don't have a launch vehicle bigger like this. So there are some designs such as the new generation manned space manned launch vehicle and also the so-called Long March 9. All these proposals are much bigger than the Long March 5 we talked yesterday. So in the future, the scientists and the engineers are studying the possibilities of our missions, human missions to the moon. But there are multiple choices, and for the key technologies, they are already developing the large thrust rocket engines. You see, in 2016, I visited Washington D.C. and see the rocket engine of the Saturn V. It's so huge. You see that the thrust and the nozzle is so big that the thrust is throttle. I can go inside. From the throttle. So you can see how big it is.
Really big.
Really big. So that is called F-1 engine, which has a thrust of 680 tons. A single engine has so big thrust. So in the future, China also will develop these kind of engines with the kerosene as a fuel and the liquid oxygen as an oxidizer. So these engines will also have a thrust I believe maybe 400 or 500 tons. So this is a good preparation work. And also you see that just also in this year, maybe the first half of this year, we have a test launch of the Long March 5B. Long March 5B is a derivative of Long March 5. The Long March 5 we talked yesterday has 2.5 stages. So the Long March 5B is simpler. It has one single stage, one core stage, and 4 boosters. So it is used to launch payload into the low Earth orbit. Well, during the test launch this year, we have a test vehicle of the new generation spaceship, which has a mass about 23 tons. So this spaceship, we can recognize it as a prototype for the spaceship in the future we used for a manned mission to the moon. So you see, we already have some preparations, but still we need the approval. The whole project needs to be approved by the central government. So we have to wait.
So collecting lunar samples, check. So next step, we want to collect samples also from Mars and Jupiter, right? So how's the progress here?
Actually speaking, no Jupiter. Because you see that Jupiter is a very huge planet. And it is, you see that it is a gas planet, not a rock one. So spacecraft cannot land it on it. And because it is so huge, so nothing can lift off from the Jupiter. But you're right. In the future, we will have a sample return mission from the Mars. But before that, we must ensure our Tianwen-1 Mars exploration goes well. Because you know that Tianwen-1 is the first mission in the world that combines an orbiter, a lander, and a rover together to the Mars. So this is the first time we do it with three crafts. So it is very difficult. And the most dangerous part will be the so-called 7 minutes of terror. Why it is terror? Because you know that until now, so many countries have attempted to soft land on the Mars. But until now, only the US can succeed in it. Europe, Russia are all failed. So you see how difficult it is.
Yeah.
So this time, the Tianwen-1 laboratory spacecraft is still on its way to the Mars, and now it's become closer and closer to Mars, but still the greatest challenge is a soft landing on the Martian surface.
Okay.
And in the future, you see that even now, until now, no country have sample returns from the Mars. So it's really difficult, even for US. And in the future, China plans to have a Mars sample return mission, and also a mission to have samples back from the, maybe a study of this kind of asteroid near the Earth.
Okay.
So this is also an announced mission. And in the future, although we will not have sample backs from the Jupiter, but we will have a plan to go deeper into the space, maybe to visit Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, or even Neptune.
Okay.
So in the future, we have these kind of plans.
Okay.
Just wait and see.
Yeah. So let's see some online comments by our online users. Okay. I can't wait to see their comments. And leave your comments below, because it's a very precious opportunity to ask straight to the Chinese top space expert. There's a Wi-Fi latency. Wow, there are quite like 40 comments.
Oh, great.
So, hey Rachel, hi. Hi Catholic Naren. Oh, you also share this live streaming to your friends, so thank you.
Excellent.
And hello, Hoke Eddie. So, he wrote it with Spanish.
Oh, no.
I hope you can.
I'm sorry, we cannot speak Spanish.
I wish I could understand Spanish, but I know Italian, so you can leave your comments in Italian. I can understand that. Wow, very good video. Thank you, Kwaharam. So where are you from? Kwaharam? And also Naren. You also shared this live streaming to your friends, so thank you very much. Oh, he asked a question. What was the material used for the mini Chang'e 5 return capsule?
Yes. We choose multiple materials for the heating shield of the returner. So you see today you can see the report, although maybe it is in Chinese, has not yet been translated into Italian or Spanish. But still, there is an institute which belongs to the China Academy of Launch Vehicle Technology. Just posted an article on the WeChat moment mentioned these materials. So they have three materials. On the bottom, which is most crucial conditions during the re-entry, they use a combination of silicon, oxygen, and another element. With these elements together, this material can protect the vehicle from the most dangerous part when entering the atmosphere with the 11 kilometers per second. And the temperature can reach approaching 3,000 degrees Celsius above zero. So it is really difficult. And also on the edge, you see that the returner is like a bell. So at the bottom we use what I mentioned, the material, and on the edge we use another component, a carbon reinforced material. And also on the other surface, you can see from the live coverage of the recovery of the vehicle, we use some honeycomb structures. So all these are a very distinctive feature that their density is very low. The density is low to reduce the weight and give more resources to our samples. So this is one feature. And also they have a very good effect on protecting the heat. And also it is reported that the heating flux can reach to about 6 million watt per square centimeter. So how intensive it is. So this material, the first material I mentioned, can protect the vehicle properly. But all these material I mentioned belongs to the ablative materials. So ablative materials are, you see, during the re-entry, it will be heated by the aerodynamic heating, and it will be vaporized. And during this vaporized position, it can absorb the heat and protect the vehicle. The most distinctive feature of the material we use is that it is mentioned it is on top one of the world because the material we used has been tested by the Chang'e 5 returner, and it be proved effective, and it can be manufactured and processed very fast. You see that just before this mission, the most perfect material is used by the Apollo spaceship. And also, but it has some improvement and be used by the future Orion spaceship of US. But still, they have some difficulties because they need a very long period for processing. It is reported they need 6 months. So it is mentioned in this article that our material, the processing speed is 25 times faster than the heating shield comparing with Orion spaceship.
Wow.
So you can see this is a very advanced technology.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely. You. Thank you for Ms. Yang's answer, and thank you for asking. So let me check what other question do we have. So welcome to leave your comments because it's a very precious opportunity to invite such a top expert to answer your questions straightly. So let's go back to moon. So China's moon exploration project has 3 phases. The number 1, the unmanned probe, and the second one is a manned landing, and then the third one is to construct the base stations on
exactly.
moon. So could you please introduce us the 3 steps in detail?
Well, you see that the first stage time in Chinese words and in English is exploration. With this step, we already accomplished the 3 small step strategy called orbiting, landing, and returning.
Yeah.
So all these are accomplished from Chang'e 1 to Chang'e 5.
Yeah.
So there are 3 new steps for this phase called surveying, construction, and utilization. So you see, surveying is to get more information about the site. In the future, we hope to have a base. Actually speaking, it is in the South Pole region.
Okay.
South Pole region, because South Pole is a hot spot for all countries, for all space-capable nations.
Why?
Because there are water there.
Okay.
And also, you see that there is a very distinct feature of the orbit of the moon, is that the direction of the sunlight is very stable to the moon.
Yeah.
So in most cases, the environment of the lunar surface is not differ from its season, but differ from its slope or its terrain, the shape of its terrain. So in the south, in the South Pole regions, there are just in the slope of some mountains, there are permanent sunshine areas. So you see, because there are permanent sunshine or even a long period, so it's very easy to get energy from there.
Wow.
And also, it's easy to be design their thermal control. You see, as I mentioned yesterday, that in the shadow areas on the moon, the temperature can below almost 200 degrees below zero.
Yeah.
So very, very crucial environment. But with the permanent sunshine, it will be much simpler.
Yeah.
And also, in the permanent shadow areas, there are water ice.
Yeah.
So you see, that is the reason we hope to get the get a base constructed on the South Pole.
Yeah.
So the 3-step next will be survey, construction, and utilization.
Okay.
So what we mentioned, utilization will be the utilization of mainly water and other resources.
Okay. So the Chang'e 5 was launched by the Long March 5, but the Chang'e 1, 2, 3, 4, they're all launched by the Long March Series A. So back in 2007, we launched the Chang'e 1. So could you please talk about the Chang'e 1 and what is the significance and what is its scientific goal?
Well, you see that for orbiting the moon, many countries have do so. And because we have never been there, we are not certain about this. So we choose a step-by-step strategy.
Yeah.
So Chang'e 1 is a derivative. You can recognize it as a derivative of our Dongfang 3 satellite platform.
Yeah.
You see, our Dongfang 3 satellites is mainly communication satellites located on the geostationary orbit, which has an altitude about 360,000 kilometers above the Earth, mainly on the equator.
Yeah.
So the environment is close, and the platform is close. So we only used a very small amount of money to develop this Chang'e 1 spacecraft, just from the based on the Dongfang 3 satellite.
Yeah.
So and also another feature is that we choose a very careful way to go to the moon. So you see that, as you mentioned, we launched this Chang'e 1 with Long March 3A, but it did not send, send the probe directly to the moon. We first entering in orbit with the apogee about 200 kilometers, when the the perigee is 200 kilometers, and the apogee about 60,000 kilometers. So it is a geosynchronous transfer orbit. And then we have some orbit maneuvers. First, we raise its perigee to 600 kilometers. And then we, at this point, at its perigee, we accelerate and accelerate. Finally, it raises its apogee to the altitude near the moon, and then go to the lunar orbit.
Wow.
So this is the story. And it is very interesting that our neighbor, India, also chose this method for their lunar probes, Chandrayaan-1 and Chandrayaan-2.
Okay.
Because you see that their probe is also very heavy, so it's larger than the top capacity of their launch vehicles to have a direct Earth-Moon transfer. So this is a feature of our Chang'e 1, the first orbiter of China. And after the mission, it was actively deorbited to crash, have a hard landing on the lunar surface. So you see, Chang'e 1 is the first object which China sent into another celestial body.
Wow. So I want to show our users the picture of the Chang'e 1, Chang'e 2. So I want to ask my friend Chu Tian, could you please share us the picture of the Chang'e 1, Chang'e 2? So,
yes. You can see this. This is a beautiful picture.
Yeah.
So you can see that the main body of the Chang'e 1 and Chang'e 2 is a box, and then it has two solar wings. So it's almost the same shape like the Dongfang 3 satellite.
Because it was built based on the foundation of the...
Yes, but we have several improvements.
So 3 years later, Chang'e 2 comes to the stage.
So I can still remember during the launch of the Chang'e 2, I was in Prague. In Czech Republic to attend the International Astronautical Congress. So I saw the live coverage from Prague, and it was launched by a different launch vehicle, Long March 3C. So the Long March 3C is a derivative of Long March 3A. All belongs to the Long March 3A series, but with 2 additional boosters. So it's much more powerful than the Long March 3A. So this time, because we already have the experience and practice, so this time we not different from the Chang'e 1, we directly send the probe from the Earth to the moon.
So Chang'e 3 is a very key point because it is realized the first soft landing on the Chinese spacecraft on moon, right?
You know that this time the Chang'e 5 makes China the third country in the world to get samples back from the moon. And also, as you mentioned, the Chang'e 3 made us the third country in the world to have a soft landing on the moon. Because you see that soft landing on the moon is a really tough task. The reason comes from that, you know, that although the moon is much smaller than the Earth, but it's still a very huge celestial body, the surface area of the moon is about 38 million square kilometers.
Wow.
Just close to the area of Asia. So you can see how huge it is.
Wow.
So because it is a very huge celestial body, the circumspeed is about 1.5 to 1.7 kilometers per second. Very, very fast. So because you know that the lunar surface is a vacuum condition, you cannot use the atmosphere to slow down your vehicle. So you can only depend on the rocket engines. So you must reduce the speed of your vehicle from more than 1,500 meters per second to 0, and also reduce altitude to 0. So this procedure use a lot of propellants. I can show you an example. The Chang'e 3 probe, the initial mass is 3.78 tons. But when it landed on the moon, it's only 1 more tons. So most of the mass are propellants and are all used during the landing. So you can see how many energy we need for this.
Okay, so I want to share with you guys the picture of the famous picture of the moon's far side, sent back by the Chang'e 4, right? So could you please, Zhu could you please share with us the picture of the far side of the moon, sent back by the Chang'e 4?
Yes.
It's a very famous image.
Actually speaking, this photo is taken by the panoramic camera
sent back by
of Chang'e 4.
Yeah.
There are also many other interesting stories. You see that because in our professional field, we call this tide lock. Because of the tide lock, the moon always facing the Earth with one side.
Yeah.
So on the Earth, no one can watch the other side of the moon.
Yeah.
So only with the development of space technology makes a chance for human being to watch the far side of the moon. So the first one was achieved by lunar 3. Lunar 3 is a probe launched by the former Soviet Union. Although the picture it took is not good, very good, not have a very good quality, but still it is the first one.
Yeah.
So the leader of the former Soviet Union used this photo to show, look, we can have a photo of the far side of the moon to the U.S. U.S. president.
Yeah.
So you can see this is a very interesting story.
Yeah.
But indeed, landing on the moon's far side is really difficult.
Yeah.
You see that because for any mission, as I mentioned, either Chang'e 1, Chang'e 2, or even Chang'e 5, we must have support from the ground. We have to monitor the status of the spacecraft. We have to send commands to the spacecraft, and they operate. And so we should have a data link from the Earth to the vehicle. But you see, for the far side of the moon, no one can do this. So that is the reason we use the Magpie Bridge. You know that the Magpie Bridge is a very famous Chinese mythology, a fairy tale in the years before. The magpie helps the two lovers to have the chance to meet. So this is a very good name. And also the Magpie Bridge act as a relay satellite from the Chang'e 4 probe to our ground stations.
Okay, so I have a personal question because you previously mentioned the soft landing, but when I saw the Apollo 11 moon landing picture, it's all very brand new. There's no dust on the landing machine at all. So what happened? What caused that? But I saw the other pictures, the other aircraft landing. They are all very dusty. But why only Apollo 11? They look so brand new and so clean.
This comes from the optical features of the camera. You see that.
So, is there any differences between the landings?
Not only Apollo 11, but all the Apollo missions on the lunar surface have this kind of. Also, some say.
Do they have the different technical methods of the soft landing to cause the status?
No. Actually speaking, there are dust floating. But you can see them in the photos. This is, I can tell you the reason. This is because you see that it is a vacuum condition on the lunar surface. And all the Apollo landings happened in the daytime. So it is very bright.
Okay.
So you know that in our daily life, you may have this experience. If you want to take picture in a very bright environment, maybe some dark things you cannot see. So that is the reason some say, oh, Apollo is fake. You cannot see the stars in the sky. But you can have this experience. I can show you. If at night you go to a place and with light to make one place very bright and you take photos. If you want to take yourself clear, you cannot see any star in the sky. So that is the reason there is no. There is no. That is the reason there is no stars in the sky in the photos Apollo program.
Okay, so that's a very interesting fact. So let's see the interactions of our Facebook users to see if they have any comments or any questions. So, Kabichu Muhammad. Hi. So where are you from? So what do you think about Apollo program? Is it a fake? So based on the previous discussions with Mr. Yang, it's all the magic of light, right? Of lighting.
We've explained one
factor,
evidence and one fact. There are also all the evidence provided those supporting the opinion that Apollo is fake. We can explain that. For instance, they mentioned that the flag, the U.S. flag is floating, but there is no air on the lunar surface. So we can explain that because you see that the stick supporting the flag is elastic. Elastic. So when the astronaut put it on that, because you saw that because there is no air, so it's hard to have any attenuation of the vibration. So it vibrates there constantly, and it makes the flag like floating. So that is the reason.
So the electricity is the main reason.
I have other examples. I can show you some. Please show us some pictures I prepared. Okay. So you see, I have a very good relation with Buzz Aldrin, the first crew member to land on the moon.
That's cool.
Yeah. He also attended our program several times on CGTN. So you see that we can please show that photo. Buzz Aldrin on the lunar surface and took the instruments to place it on the lunar surface. So he just put one very special instrument on the lunar surface, which is called laser ranging retro reflector. So this is a device he used with his own hands placed on the lunar surface.
This one?
Not this one. Go
back.
No, not this one. Not this one. Please show other pictures. Not these photos. No. These are only. No. Okay. These are lunar return missions from former Soviet Union. Okay.
So please continue.
So he placed this reflector on the lunar surface, and you see there are many astronomical observatories all over the world, either in China and in other places of the world. And they have lasers, and they emit lasers to the moon, and only in the landing site of the Apollo 11 can they get the lasers back. So only because they have this reflector on the lunar surface. Also, there are other reflectors placed on the lunar surface by the Apollo 14 and also by the lunar hood. Lunar hood is a rover of former Soviet Union. So these are direct evidence that the Apollo program really exists. So if no one places this reflector on there, why we have this light from there? So this is the reason. And also, you see that the U.S. still have a lunar orbiter orbiting the moon, which is called the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. He took many very fine images of the moon. Also, it's very interesting that the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter took the photos of Chang 3, Chang 4, and Chang 5. So we have the photos by
hard
US.
Evidence.
Yeah, very hard evidence. And also, they have the photos of the Apollo, because you see that the Apollo program, the lunar module to make man walk on the moon, have two parts: the ascent part and the descent part. So when the astronauts lift off from the moon, leave the moon, so they are in the ascending part, but the descent part stayed on the moon as the launch pad. So very similar to our Chang 5. So the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter took photos of this descending part of all the Apollo missions. And also, because you know that from the Apollo 15 missions, there are they have rovers, manned rovers. So the lunar reconnaissance orbiter can have the images of the trails, the tracks of these rovers. So that's also an evidence.
So why do you think people have all the conceptions about the fake news of the Apollo 11?
Well, because you know that I'm a technician, still I can believe them to some extent. This is because you know that from our aspect of engineering, the Apollo program is very risky. So we can say that the U.S. government is really lucky in the 1960s because there is almost no budget limit for them, so they can use the huge amount of money to achieve this goal. So you can understand even today, if they just want to repeat the Apollo program, still very challenging.
Wow.
This is because although 50 years passed and many technologies are developed, but you see that at that era, you don't have to worry about your budget. But today is a different situation. It is not political driven. So you see, today, the U.S. still very difficult to go back to the moon.
So the technology of the Apollo 11 or Apollo series is cutting edge back in that era and also at this time at present.
Also, as I have another opinion. You see that the rocket engine technologies have reached to a ceiling in Apollo program.
Okay.
Until today, essentially speaking, we don't have very remarkable improvement on rocket engine technologies. So in rocket engine technology, the most important parameter is called specific impulse. Specific impulse. So the liquid hydrogen and the liquid oxygen engine have the highest specific impulse, more than 400 seconds. And today, this figure has not changed much. So you see that during the Apollo era, we've already reached the ceiling of the technology. So we don't have a breakthrough even after half a century.
Yeah, so it reminds me of one of my favorite movie directed by Nolan, Interstellar, right?
Yeah.
So quoted as the role in that movie, he said that there's limited improvement since Apollo 11 because we have sent the moon probe 40 years ago before the Chang'e 5. So why this improvement is so limited in such a long period of time? So what are the main reasons?
This is come from the principles of chemical and physics. So although we have other development, especially we have great achievements and development in electronics.
Yeah.
So you have this mobile phone. I can say that you know that the Apollo program used many computers. And even they have computers, the most advanced computer of that era on board the lunar module.
Yeah.
But I can say that all the computers they used in the Apollo program, including those in the vehicles, in the spacecraft, and on the ground, and for the engineering, the computation capabilities of all these computers summed together is much slower than your mobile phone.
Wow. Okay.
So you can see how advanced is our electronic technology. But you see, and also we have many advancements in material making and others. But still, the performance of rocket engines has not changed much. So this is the reason why it is too expensive. There are other examples. You see that this time, the Chang'e 5, the total mass is 8.2 metric tons.
Yeah.
But you see, there is another fact that most of the mass are propellants, more than 5 tons. That is the reason. So this is because the rocket engine technologies has not been, yes, this photo. Oh, please show this photo. Look, this is a
Here it
reflector.
is.
This is a, so this is called laser ranging retro reflector.
Yeah.
So it's towards the Earth. And this is a lunar module. We can still see the landing gears of the lunar module.
Yeah.
And Buzz Aldrin, usually I call him Uncle Buzz.
Yeah.
And Uncle Buzz go down from the lunar module and take the instruments, go here and place it here. We can still see his footprints. We can still see his footprints. So, and also my friend from the Shanghai Astronomical Observatory, they emit laser to this place and get the reflection from this place.
Yeah.
So my friends also give me the examples, the direct evidence of this instrument.
Wow, that's cool. So we talk about the Apollo 11. So I use the code of the Armstrong to describe this mission of Chang'e 5. So one small step of Chang'e 5 mission and one giant leap of the Chinese development, because it is a really approval.
Really precise comment.
Thank
And also
you.
I have another comments. We
Please.
choose the lunar orbit rendezvous not because it's easy, but because it is hard.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
So what do you think of is significance of the Chang'e 5 mission to all the Chinese development and also in the reform and opening up of the Chinese society development and economic development? Is it a proof? Yeah. So what's your take?
Well, I mentioned many times to the meeting, you know, that I am a technician from space field. I always think, although I'm a technician, but I always think it is my duty, it's my responsibility to let the public know the importance and the necessity of developing space technologies.
Yeah. And space technology is a very comprehensive subject. It's not only about the computer science, rocket science. It's very comprehensive.
Yes, and also it's even a social science.
Yeah,
you may cannot enter that.
Yeah.
So you see, during the Apollo program, they developed many management methods which can be used today to increase your efficiency in management, for instance, for a project, for a program, or even for a company. So there are derivatives, there are transplanting of technologies from the lunar exploration and manned space programs.
Yeah.
But most of these are indirect ones. I mentioned many times that maybe we all say about the direct transplants, transplants such as diapers, such as non-stick frying pans, such as the dried vegetables. So all these we can see are direct transplants. So it proves that space technology are very useful. But these are very, very small examples.
Exactly.
It can be neglected.
Yeah.
But there are many important examples. You mentioned Interstellar, the movie.
Yeah, I want to say that in the movie.
I'm also a fan of Tom Cruise. And Tom Cruise, I love one sentence in his movie. He said that you mentioned that the Apollo program is useless, but without Apollo program, there will be no MRI.
Yeah.
Well, even if we now have this kind of machine, my wife will not die.
Bravo. That's quite a quote.
So after I saw this movie, I checked on internet. Although there is no direct evidence, but the invention of MRI do have some relationship with the Apollo program. And also the invention of internet. You chat with your fans on the internet, but internet technology also, the Apollo program do some contribution to make this possible.
Yeah, and also we always talk about 5G because 5G can directly improve our life efficiency, but it all based on the communication satellite on space, right?
Yes. And also, I have another opinion. You see that the space technology can not only make our life more beautiful, make our world more beautiful, and we cannot live with that directly with their applications, but also there are other important things. You see that during the 1990s, there is economic booming, a prosper of the U.S. economy during the Clinton government. You see, this is because the booming of the internet economy. You may remember that. But you see that at that era, the technicians, engineers, and scientists, you see the major part of them at the age of 40s or 50s, they have many of them choose the field of science technology just because the Apollo program. It is because Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked on the moon, so they brings the interest of makes the young people at that era show their interest to the space technology, and many of them choose technology and science as their lifetime career. I believe that it is because of this reason makes the economic booming in the 1990s during the Clinton government. You can see, so I can mention that these kind of things can also be happen in China, at least in the space field. After Yang Yuguang go into space in 2003, and you see,
Shenzhou 5.
Shenzhou 5 mission. So we can got more outstanding students. Recruitment from universities.
You witnessed the change, right?
This is a very direct example.
Wow. So it's really happening. It shows a really great example to attract more people and more elites to the space industry in China, right? So you talk about the public opinion. So many people think that the spacecraft and the space technology is so far away from our daily life, and it's kind of a waste of money. It's just a showcase of the nation power or something like that. So what's your take on this kind of opinion?
Obviously, that's not true. As I mentioned, so if we want to see the importance of space technology, just one of my friends said, just shut down all the satellites in the sky, so you cannot live. You see that every day you go out, you go to a place, Yes, before you must ask the locals there.
Yeah.
But today you don't need to do so.
Yeah, we have GPS.
Yes, with your navigation software and with the so-called geographic information system.
Yes.
So you see that the navigation software is based on the navigation satellites, and the geographic information system is based on the photos or the pictures, images get from the Earth observation satellites. So, and also every day we watch the TV. Many of them are called satellite TV. The Hunan satellite TV, the Guangdong satellite TV.
Yeah.
So all these signals are transferred from the satellites. So you can see we cannot live with a modern life without space technologies.
Yeah.
And also many materials we made, and even some medicines we made were based on space technology.
Medicine. So
yes.
could you please give us an example on the medicine?
Yes. So during the manned missions, space station missions, the Russia and the U.S. In the Mir space station and also the International Space Station have many experiments about the growing of crystals. You know that the crystals growing on the ground is not very perfect because of the influence of the gravity.
Yeah.
But if it is in the space, it is a different matter. So the crystal can grow more perfect than the Earth. And also some medicines, because I'm not a professional in this field, but also some medicine, the forming of these chemicals also is better in the microgravity environment. So they have these kind of studies. And also, although maybe the mass production is not in the sky, in the orbit, but they help the scientists to understand the principles and the theories in the medicine making. So this also makes it possible to have more medicines. Even in the future, I believe maybe you know that now we are still in the pandemic of the COVID-19.
Yeah.
So in the future, maybe in the laboratories in the ISS and also in China's future space station, we can have more these kind of studies to study the vaccine.
Yeah.
Maybe also very useful in this field. So these are a very important field for the space technology. You see, China space station has the study in many domains. For instance, the space physics, the space medicine, the space biology. So you can all these have direct applications.
Yeah. So you mentioned the medicine and biological instruments and experiments happen in Moon. So the Chang'e 5 has conducted such missions, right?
No, but we have one in
Chang'e 4. Chang'e 4.
So,
People, Chang'e 5.
Yeah.
We have sent back the videos.
The video and photo very lovely.
Yeah.
You see that because this is
it went viral online.
This is a very small experiment for outreach. So we, because you know that in engineering speaking, for animation, we have a margin. We have a margin. So if we have already achieved all functions and ensure its reliability, still we have some space. We have some mass to provide for other purposes.
Okay.
So we use this margin to have provide for Chongqing University a small box. In this small box, first, it was properly protected. After landing on the lunar surface, we pour water in it, and we bring illumination lights in it.
Yeah.
And then to see, we have multiple seeds, including the seeds of crops, of vegetables, and also cotton. So this time, we are not very lucky because the time is limited, and we don't have a very ideal environment. But still, the cotton grows and have a leaf, the green leaf on the moon. First time. So in the future, I mentioned that we will have a permanent bed on the lunar surface, and also our university has these kind of studies to grow crops and vegetables in these spaces, so the astronauts can have fresh food, not like in the USS. In USS, and also I can still remember in our Tiangong 2 laboratory, Mr. Jing Haipeng and Mr. Chen Dong also they feed the cocoons. The silkworm. They feed the silkworm, and the silkworm forms cocoons. And also they.
How about them then? The worms. Do we have any research on them and get some scientific results?
Yes, they also have some as you mentioned, the biological and the medicine research, and also they have. Grow some vegetables.
Okay.
Although they haven't ate it, but they brought that to the ground for the scientists. So all these efforts will prepare for the permanent residence in space and even on the lunar surface.
So what do you think of the prospect of the space agriculture? Will it be another base for, not only for the food source of for the astronauts, but also for the people on the Earth? Will it be a future?
Well, for the long term, you know that the human civilization only have a history of about 6,000 years. But the history of the Earth is a much longer history.
Yeah.
It's about 4.6 billion years. It's also the same age as the solar system. So, but you see that from the series in astronomy, the sun is in its middle age. It's in the middle age.
Okay.
Now, in the current stage, it is called a yellow dwarf. But in the future, it will be larger and larger, and finally, it will become a red giant.
Yeah.
The red giant will
Keep
not
extending.
only swallow the Mercury, swallow the Venus, but also will swallow the Earth.
Yeah.
So at that moment, if the human beings still exist, they must immigrate to other places if they want to survive.
It's like the final destiny.
The final destiny.
Right there waiting for us.
So sooner or later, we have to go outside the Earth, but
Okay.
maybe not now. But we should prepare for that. You see, there are other examples. Before the Columbus and Magellan, can you see that finding the American continent is useless? You cannot say so. Because at that moment, still there are little returns from these explorations. But still today, we have so many people in American continent.
Yeah. So we're benefiting. Enjoy the benefits of the space technology like every single day. So let's check the comments and interactions of our online users.
Please also show our appreciation to your fans.
Yeah, thank
and
you.
Let them repost.
Thank you so much to leave your comments. Let me check it. There's latency. There's a Cobia Polycarp asked me, hello, why don't you respond to my message in your inbox? Sorry, I didn't see it. I will respond to you as soon as possible. And what's your question again? You can leave your comments below and we will answer for you online. And also, there are French. They asked the question in French. Okay. So I have a personal question I can ask for the online users. So we talk about the Apollo 11, and there's also vivid story in details about describe how Armstrong witnessed some aliens on the moon. In the story, in that version of story, the story claimed that Armstrong said there's a three-eyed alien witnessing his lunar mission. So, where did this story come from? So do you believe there are aliens based on the moon?
I don't believe there are aliens on the moon. You see that today, not only U.S. has visited the moon, including the far side, with China, Russia, India, Japan have already visited the moon. All these countries I mentioned have orbiters. Not only get images of the near side of the moon, which we can also see from the Earth, but get images of the far side of the moon. So we have already surveyed the moon very in detail of every place on the moon. No any alien base have found. So if one country lies to the public, how about the other countries? So it has been true. And you see that finding life evidence is a very important part of the space explorations researches.
Do we have any progress there?
Yes, we have some progress. At least you know that in the solar system, although we've already found any evidence of life forms outside the Earth, but we can already confirm that no high-level life forms such as those with intelligent. So except the Earth, no intelligent life forms outside the Earth in the solar system. But it is possible to have very low level, such as some germ, some bacteria on the other planets and also the moons of other celestial bodies. For instance, there are multiple candidates. For instance, the Titan, the moon of Saturn, and also its moon Enceladus. Enceladus and Titan are all moon of Saturn. All these moons have liquids. So it is possible for them to have low level or some primitive life forms like germs.
Okay.
So and also you see that the Earth have a large amount of water in the sea, but the second moon of the Jupiter, Europa, even have more water than the Earth.
Wow.
So you can see
That's
that
very marvelous.
the surface is covered with ice, but beneath the surface there are oceans. So it is possible to have some life forms, but not very intelligent ones. Just some microbes and maybe other things. But in the solar system, we can conclude now we don't have a high level or intelligent life form like Earth in the solar system. And also you see that if we go far beyond this, you see that our solar system, the sun is a star. And the nearest star to the sun is Proxima. The distance is 4.2 light years. Light year is a unit of length. So the 4.2 light year is about 40 trillion kilometers away.
Wow.
And you know that the first spacecraft of the human being is Voyager 1, which was launched in 1979. So 41 years passed, it only reached a place about 30 billion kilometers from the sun. So you can see how difficult it is even we want to go to the nearest star. I have a saying to the public that if we don't have a leap in basic theories and basic recognition to this universe, we will have no chance to visit even the nearest star for the human being. Because the current technology, the most powerful thing is the fusion power. Even with the fusion power, we cannot have interstellar travel.
Yeah, since we brought this alien topic up, so it reminds me of the very famous book. I know you're a huge fan of it, Three-Body Problem.
Yes.
And recently, during the COVID-19 period, its author Liu Cixin wrote an article which went viral online. He said the alien invasions, alien wars, is just like the COVID-19. It will happen without preparations. So what do you think of the alien invasions and also other connections between humans and aliens? What's your take?
Well, I agree with the Dark Forest theory in the second book
episode.
In the second
of
episode.
The series.
I suppose this idea. You see that I've already mentioned that according to our study.
So Darwin theory also can apply to the space, right?
And you see that in the solar system, we don't have other intelligent life forms. And these humans cannot go to even the nearest star. And our first spacecraft is only 30 billion kilometers away. So if the aliens can come to the Earth, our gap between them is even bigger than our gap with the ants. So you can see, if they come to the Earth, that will be the doomsday of the human being.
The question, we are the ants or they are the ants?
We are the ants.
Yeah, if they can come that far, they will be like a very cutting-edge technology.
You know that the annihilation of the Indian civilization, the Inca and the Maya civilization in the American continent is because there is a huge gap between the Spanish and the Portuguese with them. The Spanish and the Portuguese already have guns.
But the gap between us and alien will be
even bigger than
even bigger.
But you see that there are also other hypotheses. Why do we still, until now, we haven't found any alien forms? I have my assumption that because they also made the same problem like Earth. Because you know that we cannot go to the nearest star, and also they cannot go to our place. So maybe that's the same situation they met. And also there are other problems. You see that in the years before, there is a program called SETI. To search the extra intelligence life forms in space. So they use very large antennas, just been in these days with a diameter of 300 meters. So this is a very huge antenna, but I say still not big enough. Because you see, you send signals, radio signal to space, and become with the distance, it becomes weaker and weaker and cannot be detected. So if you want send signals to the aliens, although it's very dangerous according to Liu Cixin's theory, but still we human beings at current stage don't have this capability to do this.
Okay, so that's very interesting fact. Let's go back to the online comments. And say again, if you have any comments and if you have any questions, you feel free and welcome to leave your comments below, because we invited top Chinese expert today to my channel. So this is very precious opportunity. You can go and ask straight to the top Chinese expert about space, about aliens, about anything that you care about and you're curious about this Chang mission, but also the space technology and also the space technology development in different countries or in your country. So let's see the comments. There's a bit of internet latency, so let me check. Oh, there are nearly 100 comments now. Why I can't see all the comments? Let me check it again. Yeah, do you guys have any questions? Because I think Mr. Yang have been giving us a marvelous lecture. Do you guys have any question on space? 你们有什么关于就是外星人的问题吗？咱们现场的朋友们，楚天，你有什么问题吗？关于外星人的。楚天 come on camera, come in front of the camera.
Come on.
Here's my close friend Chu Tian, and he's helping with this program assignment, and he's a very huge fan of the space technology. So I want to ask, what do you think of space technology, and what question do you have to ask straight to the expert Yang? Because I know it's a very rare opportunity for you. Yeah. Do you have any questions on aliens?
Yeah, actually, there's one.
Bring them on.
Actually, there's one. This one. Let's leave on the comment. I just refer what he have asked.
Yeah.
This friend asked, do you think that American was hiding the truth from the moon and showing the unreal images of misleading and concealing what they has already been discovered? That was.
Of course, this is fake, because you see that, which actually speaking, we've already discussed that. You see, currently speaking, today, this moment, the U.S. orbiter, the lunar reconnaissance orbiter, is orbiting the moon, which have a very high-resolution camera, which can even get images of our long Chang'e 3, Chang'e 4, and Chang'e 5 probe, the images of them on the lunar surface. But still, you know that China, Russia, India, Japan, and Europe have the lunar probes today or before. So they also get images of moon, very high resolution images. So as I mentioned, if one country lied to the public, what about the other countries?
No way to cover it up for all the countries.
No way. So it's already been proved that no alien base on the far side of the moon and no alien base beneath the lunar surface. So we can confirm that. And also, you see that Mr. Bud Aldrin has mentioned many of his experience on the moon. And he also mentioned to me that it is very interesting, like the Chang'e 5, he experienced something like the UFO. You see that, but it's really not UFO. It's not the alien spacecraft. So you see, this is coming from the flight sequence of the Apollo program. You see that the Apollo spaceship is on top of the Saturn V launch vehicle, but only the command module and the service module is on the outside, and the lunar module, because it has a very complex shape, it is protected by some fairings inside the top of the Saturn V.
Okay.
So after it is come into the translunar orbit, then the command module and the service module goes away, return back, and drag the dock with the lunar module and pull it back. So at this moment, the fairings protecting the lunar modules, they have 4 panels. So they jettison away. And it looks like a UFO. So that is the reason someone says that, oh, Armstrong saw some UFO. Not UFO. It's just the panels of the top of the third stage of the Saturn V. So this is a very interesting story.
Okay, so are you happy with the answer, Chu Tian? Sure. Okay, so I noticed that there's a lot of questions about the theory of conspiracy, and it indeed have a huge market because back to the historic background, it all happened because the landing of the Apollo 11 happened during the Cold War between the U.S. and the former Soviet Union. So could you please tell us, like, any behind-the-scenes story or untold stories about the so-called space battles between the two countries back then?
Yes, exactly. So, but actually speaking, the space activities of the U.S. is really transparency comparing with the former Soviet Union. So you see, we've had actually speaking, the former Soviet Union is the first pioneer to explore the moon. So Lunar 1 is the first spacecraft of the human being passing by the moon to the nearest place, although it has not reached the moon. This is because at that era we even don't know the exact gravity of the moon, so we don't have the precise figures. And Lunar 2 is the first one to have a hard landing on the lunar surface. So it is the first man-made object reaching the moon. And Lunar 3, as we've already discussed, is the first one to get to the far side of the moon and take photos.
So the Chang 5's photo is shot by the Lunar 5?
No.
Which Lunar took the photo?
All I mentioned is happened in 1950s and 1960s.
Yeah, the Cold War period.
The Cold War. But the photos for Chang 5 is taken by the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter of the U.S. So you see that it seems that the former Soviet Union have a very high successful rate, but that's not the truth. You see that they have a launch attempt, and if the launch is successful, the Soviet Union gave it a name. If it failed, no name. Actually speaking, although we can see many named missions from the former Soviet Union, from Lunar 1, Lunar 2, to even Lunar 24, but actually speaking, they launched more than these we can see. So their success rate is less than 50%. So this is a story behind their success. And also, you see, although they have not announced officially before, but they do have a manned lunar space program. And we have another picture with my photo with Mr. Leonov. Alexei Leonov is the first one to have EVA of human being. Chu Tian, please show that photo of Mr. Leonov. Actually speaking, Mr. Leonov is the first one to be appointed by the former Soviet Union to land on the moon and walk on the moon. But okay, let's show.
Let's show the photo.
And we try to find it. Oh, not all photos are transferred.
I think it does. 上面没有.
Okay. Oh, it doesn't matter. So, but the design of their manned lunar program is quite different from U.S. So they only, not like the U.S., land 2 persons on the lunar surface. They only have the plan to land 1 person on the lunar surface. And the launch vehicle they use is called N-1. It's even have a bigger thrust than the Saturn V. But unfortunately, 4 launch attempts are all failed. One of the major reasons of the failure is that they use 30 engines on the first stage. We've already discussed, as I mentioned, the 5-1 engine used by the Saturn V, which has a thrust of 680 metric tons, very huge rocket engine. Because at that moment, the Soviet Union don't have these huge rocket engines, so they increase the numbers of engines. That's not the problem. They use 30 engines. The problem is that they don't have very comprehensive ground tests. So that's the reason they have 4 launch attempts, but all failed. And one even exploded on the launch pad and destroys the whole launch pad. It is called this explosion is the biggest conventional explosion other than the nuclear explosions. So you can see how serious the problem is. So after this failure, the failure of all these 4 attempts, they canceled the human lunar exploration projects. So that's a story not being published by the Soviet government.
Wow, that's a cool fact. So you talk about the success rate, and we've noted that the path of the space development between China and both United States and Russia are a little bit different because once the satellites are on track, on board, both U.S. and Russia, they took the inner space exploration immediately. While China, when the satellite is on board, we continue to build more application satellites. What are the differences? Why we have that differences?
The differences is that, so today there are no much more differences. Today we are more practical.
Yeah.
But in the eras at the beginning, at the dawn of the space era in 1950s, so most of the projects of US and the Soviet Union are political driven.
Yeah.
So they try to have the first satellite into space, the first man in space, the first multiple persons in space, the first one to reach the moon. So all these are political driven and not sustainable. So because you know that until today we are even still a developing country in the world. So we develop our space program very careful and according to our own needs, not competing with other countries.
Yeah.
So this is the reason that we have a very slow process. So we launched our first satellite at 1970, but our first manned spaceship after more than 30 years after that.
Okay.
So we use we have this style, and we use only a relatively very small amount of money and to achieve a very high goal.
Okay, so let's talk about the U.S. lunar exploration and talk about the legendary Apollo series.
Yeah.
Shall we?
Yes. So you see that, actually speaking, it is a very long story.
Yeah.
You see that during the World War II, there is a famous rocket or a missile called V2, developed by von Braun. Von Braun is called the godfather of the modern space technology because this, even today, the basic configuration and consideration of the design of rockets is very similar to the V2. And after the World War II, the former Soviet Union and the US take away all their instruments and the experts. But at that moment, US focusing more on bombers and not on missiles. But the former Soviet Union paid a lot of money on the development of missiles. So they get the first to have a very large launch vehicle called R7, which is intercontinental ballistic missile. Based on this missile, they developed the first launch vehicle to launch Sputnik 1 into space. And actually speaking, it is very interesting. At the first moment, the Soviet government don't care about this news. It thinks that it's nothing important.
Yeah.
But when this news released to the US and other European countries, oh my God, the satellites can go above us every day.
Yeah.
So at this moment,
They panicked.
Yeah, they panicked. And at this moment, the Soviet Union realized, oh, we done a great thing.
Yeah.
So at this moment, come to the space race. And at this moment, is established of NASA in US, and they try to have another their own satellite. So with the help of von Braun, the godfather of modern space rocket technology, they developed their own satellite, Explorer 1. But you see, Explorer 1 is only about 10 kilograms, much smaller than the Sputnik 1, because they don't have a bigger rocket. And after that, only after about 4 years, the Soviet Union sent the first man, Yuri Gagarin, into space with the Vostok spaceship. At this moment, the US had not a bigger rocket, so they chose to send their astronaut into suborbital trajectory. So they don't come into the orbit, orbiting the Earth circle by circle, but just to go out of the atmosphere and drop.
Okay.
But this has a problem because you see that this is the trajectory is very similar to the intercontinental ballistic missiles.
Yeah.
So the acceleration and the deceleration is very huge.
Yeah.
So the first astronauts, Shepard, and the second astronaut, Grissom of US, suffered a very high acceleration and deceleration during their re-entry, more than 10 G. Or 10 times their own weight.
Yeah, it's very hard to bear.
It's hard to bear. So the first generation of the spaceship of Russia and the US both have the feature of they only have one astronaut. And so the former Soviet Union has 6 missions called Vostok, and the U.S. have the Mercury spaceship also 6 times.
Yeah.
But the first 2 ones are suborbital, and the others are orbital. So the first orbital launch of the manned spaceship of U.S. is the 3rd Mercury mission. John Glenn takes this mission. You know that John Glenn is the his legend is that after he retired from the NASA, he rejoins the space shuttle missions again at the age of 77. So he is the oldest man into go back to space again.
Wow, 77.
Yes. So,
what a spirit.
Yes, that's a very unique experience.
Yeah.
So after the Mercury program, the U.S. have another program called Gemini. Gemini program is to prepare for the technologies necessary for the human missions to the moon.
Yeah.
So with these Gemini missions, they master the rendezvous and docking technologies. They master the EVA or extravehicular activity technologies. It is very interesting that that the first rendezvous and docking just been done by Armstrong in Gemini 8 missions, but that mission almost brings a disaster. You see that when they docked with another object called the Agena upper stage, it began to rotate, and faster. Originally, they thought it is a problem come from the other vehicle, so they just jettisoned from that vehicle, but still even rotating more faster. So at this moment, Armstrong is very wise, and he used the propellants even for the landing to slow down the rotation.
Wow.
If it continues to rotate
it's
faster,
like,
they will lose their conscience.
Yeah, it's like an immediate reaction, right?
Yes, only within several seconds.
Wow.
So you see how dangerous it is.
It's very dangerous.
And at this moment, he found that there is a malfunction of the switch of one thruster. So this even makes the first human loss in space. So the Gemini 8 mission, very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
And you see, it is very interesting that during the last Gemini mission, what I mentioned, Dr. Buzz Aldrin performed the first successful EVA of the U.S. Before that mission, it is not very successful because it is very hard for the astronauts to operate in space because it is zero-G environment.
Yeah.
But you know that why Buzz Aldrin can do it? It is because he likes the scuba diving on the Earth. And the scuba diving, you see, that seems like floating in the water. So he has been used to this environment and very successful in its operation in space. So that is reason in the after this, all the EVA trainings are underwater because the floating status is very similar to the weightless environment in outer space.
Yeah.
So that is a very interesting story.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, and also at the same moment, Russia or Soviet Union prepare its missions. As I mentioned, they also want to master the rendezvous and docking technologies and the EVA technologies.
Yeah.
The first EVA is performed by what I mentioned, Mr. Leonov. Leonov performed the EVA on the so-called lunar, Voskhod mission. Voskhod has 2 missions, but these spaceships are only a slight change on the Vostok spaceships. So he takes this spaceship into space with his colleague Belyaev, and there is the former Soviet Union made an airlock for them. He first go into this airlock and close the hatch behind it and go into outer space.
Yeah.
But when it is very dangerous because when he wants to go back, he cannot. This is because you know that when he go into outer space, his spacesuit becomes bigger because it is vacuum condition, and the airlock is not so big.
Yeah.
So he cannot go back.
Wow.
And when he use out his oxygen, he will die. So what is choice? He just relieves some gas in his suit.
Wow.
This is very dangerous, but make it smaller, and then he go back.
Wow.
So you can see how dangerous it is.
That's very risky.
And then after these 2 missions, both U.S. and the former Soviet Union suffered some failure. The U.S. performed ground training of the Apollo 1, and it was in fire. Because the Apollo capsule used pure oxygen in their cabin. So it's very dangerous. and 3 astronauts lost their lives, including the first one performed the EVA for US in space, and including the Grissom I mentioned in the Mercury missions and other new astronauts. So it's a tragedy for them. And also, during the Soyuz 1 mission from the Soviet Union, the parachute during the re-entry does not work. So it crashed down to the ground, and Ms. Komarov died immediately. So all US and the Soviet Union suffered failures. But after that, the US goes very fast. So they performed the Apollo 7 mission, the first Apollo manned missions into space in low Earth orbit to have 3 astronauts in space. And then Apollo 8 mission with the Saturn V launch vehicle, they goes to the moon and entering the lunar orbit and then go back by the end of 1968. And then with the preparation of the Apollo 9 mission and Apollo 10 mission, finally Apollo 11 mission launched in July in 1979, just before the end of that decade. Neil Armstrong and Aldrin step and walk on the moon. And then the Apollo 12 landed in the ocean of storm, just the same lunar mare of our Chang 5. And also, it is very interesting. It is a very precise landing, just landing near its unmanned probe before called Surveyor 3. Surveyor 3 is a soft landing spacecraft of the US several years before the Apollo program. And the astronaut visited this unmanned vehicle because it's very close, only several hundred meters away. So it is very interesting. And then, you know, the famous Apollo 13 mission. You may saw the movie Apollo 13. Tom Hanks is the main actor. So during its trip to the moon, an oxygen tank exploded in its service module. So they cannot go to the moon, but to move to the lunar module as a rescue ship, and then with the help of the ground, they safely come back. And then the Apollo 14 mission. And then Apollo 15 mission. The most distinctive feature of Apollo 15 is that it is the first time they have a manned rover on the lunar surface. So it can go far beyond the lunar module and get more samples, and more meaningful scientific research results. And then the Apollo 16 mission and Apollo 17 mission. Apollo 17 mission is the last one. It is the first time that the U.S. brought a scientist onto the moon. Mr. Harrison Schmitt, which he's a geologist, and he is the only scientist in the Apollo program. So that is the end of the Apollo missions.
Serious. Okay. Wow, I'm so astonished by all the stories of the space exploration pioneers. So let's go back to the comments that our online users left to us. Okay. There's a little bit of internet latency. Let's check it. So if you have any questions or anything you want to say to us, leave your comments. Oh, okay. Here's another question. So I have a lot of followers from India. So there's one of them said, "What about India? So what is their space exploration level?"
Oh, yes. You know that besides my work in China Aerospace, I also work for the International Astronautical Federation.
Wow.
So I am the vice chair of the Space Transportation Committee of IAF. I also have many colleagues in IAF. Chu-Tian, you can show some pictures of my photos with my colleagues. Originally, my colleagues, Mr. Samanas, is a member of our space.
I believe that's one, right?
Let's show. No,
the right one?
Not here. Not here. I mean, my friends, international friends. Oh, yes.
Yeah, this one?
This one, he is the president of the ISRO, or Indian Space Research Organization, which can called the Indian Space Agency. He is the president, and we met in Bremen in 2018.
Okay.
So he is chief in charge of all the space programs in India. And also my friend, another of my friend, Samanas, as I mentioned, he is now the vice chair of the IAF. So he is also my colleagues in Space Transportation Committee, but also our leaders in the IAF. So India has a very great space program, and also they achieved many important goals. For instance, they are the first Asian country to reach the orbit of the Mars. So the Mangarian spacecraft is the first Asian craft orbiting the Mars and get many useful scientific results. And also, India have their own lunar programs. So Chandrayaan-1 is India's first lunar orbiter, and which is a very successful orbit. As I mentioned, our Chang'e-1 probe and their Chandrayaan-1 have a very similar mission profile. We not go to the moon directly, and we just go into a high elliptical orbit, and then with engines on the spacecraft itself, we raise its apogee and then go to the moon. So we have a similar mission profile. I believe because both of us are developing countries, this is a very reasonable choice for us.
Yeah.
And Chandrayaan-2 mission is very unique because it is also a mission combined an orbiter, a lander, and a rover together. So it is very perfect design, but it is very unfortunate that the lander crashed on the lunar surface. Not because they are not good, but because it is really difficult.
Yeah.
So I also showed my best wish to my friends in India. I hope that the Chandrayaan-3 will be a great success, will be a complete success in the soft landing on the moon. And also, you see that India has very close relationship and cooperation with other countries and have many payloads on their Chandrayaan-1 and get very useful data, especially the distribution of water on the lunar surface. Very, very useful. And I hope in the future, both countries have a chance to cooperate with each other. And also, again, I show my best wish to my friends and my colleagues in India.
Okay, thank you. So let's see other comments. So would there be more cooperations between India and China, and what cooperations we have been conducted before?
Well, you see that currently we do have only limited cooperations. But in the future, because you see that India is also a space capable nation, and also India has its own manned space programs, I believe in the future, maybe we can have some kind of joint experiment in space and even joint flight. But all these has to be approved by both governments.
Okay, so I think Chang'e 5 has proven to be a success. So what other projects will be implemented in the future in China's space technology?
Well, we already discussed that we will have a station program. And next year will be a peak year for China manned space activities. After the successful launch of Long March 5B, I mentioned it will be used to launch the 3 modules of our future space station. The core module is called Tianhe, or Space Harmony, and another module called Wentian, the other module called Wentian. So both these modules will be assembled together to form a very big space station. And in the future, we will have a permanent residence of astronauts in space. And also, we will have joint experiments with other countries.
Okay, so let's talk about the Chang'e 6, 7, and 8. So there's another online user said, what international corporations will be carried out to construct the lunar base station?
Well, it is already been announced that the Chang'e 6 will have international payloads.
Yeah.
So what kind of payload depends on the communication with other countries, still not determined. But still, we can be sure that there will be international payload. As I mentioned, in Chang'e 5, we have some payloads on the lander, the lunar penetrating radar, the panoramic camera, the infrared spectrometer, and so on. These payloads are very useful, helpful, besides the sample collections. So in the future, for the Chang'e 6 mission, because we will land on the southern pole regions, and which is a hot topic. All the space capable nations wants to study this area. So I believe that it's a great chance for these countries to cooperate together. And again, of course, for any deep space nations, no country can do it alone. All countries must have support, especially ground support from other countries. Like these Chang'e 5 missions, we have ground stations in Argentina, in Namibia, in Malindi, and also in Karachi. So we have stations all over the world, and we also get support from ESA. And also in other countries, in US, they also have stations in Spain and in Australia. So in the future, I believe that all countries can go together for the deep space missions, especially the robotic missions, because it uses less money than the manned missions, and it's more, the purpose can benefit the whole world, and in the future, it can also reduce the threshold for the decision makers to choose these kind of projects. And also, you see that in the future, we can also have some kind of joint flight with other countries. Actually speaking, we already have one. We have a spacecraft called Firefly 1.
Yeah.
It is a piggyback payload of the Russian probe to the Mars. Phobos ground, but unfortunately, the Phobos ground failed during its flying to the Mars. So our Firefly 1 also together failed. It is really great pity. Or if not, it will be our first Mars probe. So we already have this kind of joint flight before. In the future, I believe we can have more and more these kind of examples.
Could you please share with us some inside perspective of the 11 launch missions that will be carried out before the completion of the moon space stations?
You see that sooner or later the human being will have a permanent lunar base on the lunar surface. I am a founding member of the Moon Villagers Association.
Yeah.
The experts from the International Astronautical Federation and the experts from the International Academy of Astronautics formed this association, which beginning our work in 2016, just during the spring meeting in Paris. And we established formally this organization in 2017 in Vienna, in Austria. Our goal is to promote and help the government and non-government organizations to communicate and cooperate together in the future exploration and exploitation of the moon. So Moon Village has this goal. I am the regional coordinator and founding member in China. And in the future, we believe that besides the coordinations on government level, like the RSECG, we also have this kind of non-governmental communications with other countries. So with this help, we can utilize the resources and we can use the technologies of each country for us to establish an economical or sustainable transportation system between the Earth and the Moon. So reducing the cost is very important for the sustainable permanent base on the lunar surface. And if this can be achieved, it can be much cheaper in the future. We can go to the Moon, like we periodically go to the ISS or go to our future space station. So because you see that the Moon is far from here, and in the future, we must utilize the resources on the lunar surface. So what you mentioned and asked, the Chang'e 8 will take this role, because Chang'e 8, after Chang'e 6 and 7, will demonstrate some on-site utilization technologies on the lunar surface. I believe these are very good preparation works for either the robotic base or a human base on the lunar surface.
Okay, so what do you think of the major task for the following 2021 for the space technology in China?
Of course, you see that about in the Spring Festival, our Mars probe Tianwen-1 will have the orbit insertion from the trans-Mars orbit from the Earth to the Martian orbit. So this is a very, like the Chang'e 5, it is a very dangerous, very risky, and very important step.
Yeah.
So after it entering the circum-Mars orbit, it will have to have multiple orbit maneuvers to prepare for the landing. And also the orbiter itself act as a relay satellite for the lander. And then after landing, if we can achieve successful, we'll be the second country in the world which can have a soft landing successfully on the Martian surface and perform scientific research. And the rover, I think you can enjoy the beautiful images taken back by the rover itself.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And next year is also a very peak year for our manned space activities. Next year we will launch our core module, the Tianhe module, which is a core module which have multiple docking ports which can connect to the future experiment module. And we will also have our Shenzhou 12 mission and Tianzhou 2 missions to demonstrate the technologies for long-term duration in space in this inside station. It is very interesting. You see that we must test one technology. Ms.Wow, if you live there, you must drink your own urine.
No, but you know, that's a price.
Yes.
You know, that's a price I want to pay. I'm willing to pay.
You see, it's not suffer. You just enjoy that. You see that, you know that for a long-term duration in the space station, you must save everything.
It's a must to do. Right?
You must do so. You see that the cost of bringing 1 pound of water into space, the cost is much more expensive than 1 pound of gold. So every pound of water is valuable. So it must be reused. One thing must be reused. So we have collection of the waste water, such as those our sweat with the form of vapor can be concentrated and collected, and also other wastewater. And one difficult one is a urine. So we have a very special device which can collect the urine and vaporize this urine and get the clean water again. So you don't need to suffer. You just drink water like common water. So there is the bar in the International Space Station. They got what do you call several astronauts meet together and drink coffee, but they don't know the coffee is made by whose urine. So you don't need to worry. No any terrible smell. So it's really impressive, this technology.
Let me make a claim again. If I can go to the rocket and go to the sky, that's a price I'm so willing to pay. So speak of this, are there any interesting facts about the little ceremony or little things that they want to do as a lucky symbol before the astronauts go into the space?
Yes. You see, we talked about the urine. And Yuri Gagarin.
Because before the show, you talk about some little ceremony about the urine.
So that's a tradition. You see that during the first launch attempt in 1961, just before the launch of Vostok 1, the first manned spaceship, Gagarin peed before he entering the capsule.
The wheels?
To the wheels, yes, to the vehicle, of the ground vehicles. So they formed the tradition that if you are a man, if you are a male astronaut, you just pee before you entering the capsule. They formed this tradition to bring you luckiness. And also, it's very interesting that you may watch the live coverage of the launch of the Crew 1 mission of the SpaceX, the Dragon spaceship into space. So there is always a small object. This time is a dinosaur to echo the weightless. It's floating in the cabin. So they always have these kind of symbols. So very, very interesting. And also, I can show you another example of the interesting life. Chu Tian, please show my picture of the Beijing, and also my picture.
Yeah, that's a very fun fact.
Yes. No, not here. No.
So there are two photos that also about Beijing.
So,
one from the Please continue.
Mr. Chris Welch, Mr. This photo. This photo is taken by Mr. Chris Welch, a Canadian astronaut, when he is the commander of the International Space Station. So he took this photo of Beijing. Look, but.
I took pictures of ISS here.
So that spot is my home.
Wow.
Is my home.
Wow.
So please show another photo. So this is so this photo is very clear. He took the picture. We can see all the streets in Beijing. He took the picture.
It went well in our 8K
in ISS.
screen.
And please show another photo. I took the ISS. I took the photo of ISS with a telescope.
Wow.
So you can see the shape of the ISS. It is very interesting that at that moment, when I took the photo, Chris Welch, sorry, not Chris Welch. Chris Welch is another of my friends in the International Space University. Just Chris Hadfield. Chris Hadfield.
Okay.
Chris Hadfield, when I took the photo, Chris Hadfield is on board the station. So we took photos of each other with a distance more than 400 kilometers. Can you do that?
Wow.
So, and more amazing is that after he come back to the Earth, we meet with each other on an international conference in Beijing.
Wow.
So that's very amazing experience for me.
Yeah. So do we have another photo, Chu Tian? Okay, it's okay. So you've talked about all the very dangerous and risky moments of the previous astronauts back in the U.S. and also from former Soviet Union. Do we have some untold story that you can share with us about the Chinese astronauts? That do they have any immediate reaction or some untold stories about their trip and their exploration to Earth?
Although some of the stories are well known in China, but not in other countries, I can tell you some of the stories. So you see that during the Shenzhou 7 mission, Shenzhou 7 mission is the first mission in China which will test the EVA or extravehicular activity technologies. So during this mission, you know that the Shenzhou spaceship has 3 modules: the orbital module, the re-entry capsule, and the service module or the propulsion module. So the 3 astronauts mainly stay in the re-entry module, and during the EVA, the orbital module will act as an airlock. So our astronauts, Mr. Zhigang and Liu Boming go into the orbital module and close the hatch behind them and wear their spacesuits, preparing to go out. But at this moment, there is a malfunction of one sensor to show that there's a fire. You know that, as I mentioned, the Apollo 1 astronauts, the 3 astronauts lost their lives.
Very crucial when it comes to
lost
the
their
space
lives,
exploration.
lost their lives during a fire. So there is an alert, and Mr. Jing Haipeng just stay in the re-entry capsule mentioned that there is a fire, but at this moment, Mr. Zhigang and Mr. Liu Boming is already in the orbital module, and they said that no, we will continue our task.
Wow.
We will go out. So they are very brave warriors.
Very brave.
Very, very brave. But this moment, they met another problem. Although they've already practiced many times on the ground, but at this moment, they cannot open the hatch to the outer space. The reason is that although most of the gas has already been released, but still, you know that there are many objects inside the orbital module, and some of them can release a small amount of gas into the cabin. So just because of this small amount of gas, there is a pressure inside, so they cannot open the hatch. So finally, they made all their efforts to open it and then go out. So that is a very interesting story, but seldom known by other countries. This is just being shared by Mr. Zhigang.
Wow. So let me show great respect again for all the human astronauts and all the space exploration pioneers. So let's go back to the internet comments on my Facebook, and also, do you guys, if you have any comments, please leave your comments below, and we will go straight and ask to the top Chinese expert. Okay, so there's a question, and I'm very interested in the 5G technology. So could you please tell us more about the remote sensing satellite and the communication satellite in China to realize the 5G technology?
Yes. So you see, China has a program called High Definition Earth Observation Project. With this project, we have the satellites either in the sun-synchronous orbit and even in the geosynchronous orbit. Of course, because you know that perhaps it is Golfen or high definition 4 satellites in the geosynchronous orbit. Of course, because it is too high, but about 360,000 kilometers above the Earth. So the image is not so fine like the low Earth orbit, but still, because it can have a very wide range, and one photo it can take so huge area, and the resolution can reach to about 50 meters. It's already very big, already very, very good for a high altitude like this. And also, but of course, most of the high definition Earth observation satellites are located in the low Earth orbit, especially those in the sun synchronous. And some of them, very interesting, have stereo images.
Wow.
Because you see that besides the two-dimensional information, the elevation information is also very important. So some of the Earth observation satellites in China can make 3D images. These are very useful for the map making and for provide the information helping the decision makers to for the future plans of construction and other things. And also you see that because today we are not only have images of the colored images, but we also have the so-called multi-spectrum, and how about super spectrum images. With these images, we can get more information from the photo. For instance, if you want to monitor the growing of crops, because in different stage and in different condition, the image with different spectrum will be different. So we can, from this information, we can get more useful things to help our scientists and our decision makers. And for the what you mentioned, the communication, you see that in these days, not only the satellite TV are very popular, but also today we have more high band or high bandwidth communications, which can make it possible for the airliners and the ships to have internet access. You see that in the years before, in our planes, in our airplanes, we are very painful because we are cutting down from the internet connection.
Yeah.
But today, it is possible to use these kind of internet access on the plane. That is because we have satellite communication. So we also have these kind of satellites in the geosynchronous orbit. They can provide very high transfer rate. So it is possible for us to use Wi-Fi in the airplanes.
Wow, that's cool. So we can use Wi-Fi on airplanes thanks to the communication satellite we launched on sky.
Yeah. Besides this, I want to also show you something about the future Mars missions. You know that for every space-capable nation, sooner or later, they will go to Mars.
Yeah.
For instance, the U.S. In the Obama government have already have a plan to go to the Mars amidst the moon. But in the Trump government, they go back to the moon. They choose this again. To my opinion, only if you can use the water resources on the lunar surface, it will be useful for or have contribution to the Mars mission. So this is for the U.S. So if they cannot use the water, I don't think they need to go to the moon because it will be useless for the Mars mission. But for other countries such as China, Russia, Europe, Japan, India, these countries, if we want to go to Mars, we must go to the moon first. Because first, you know, that the moon is very valuable and reasonable for us to go there, a manned mission. And second, we can test many important technologies necessary for the future missions to Mars. But I don't think it is the right moment, like Elon Musk said, we can colonize Mars. No, we cannot do so. I have to say, even if, like Elon Musk said, our Earth is hit or attacked by an asteroid bigger than that brings the doomsday of dinosaur, even so, the environment on the Earth is still much better than the Mars.
Yeah.
Today, we human beings do not have the technology to change the environment of Mars. You see, even the Earth, we haven't left the Earth. We cannot change or we cannot control the environment of the Earth. Yeah. How can we change or control the environment of Mars? The human being has not mastered this technology. Yeah. The most important point is that the magnetic field. You see, as we discussed yesterday, because the Earth has a very strong magnetic field, it can protect the Earth, protect the spacecraft, and protect the human being on the surface of the Earth from the dangerous radiation. Yeah. But on the lunar surface, on the Mars, we don't have. So if you want to live on the Martian surface, a normal life, you must have a atmosphere and also have a magnetic field to protect you. And also the magnetic field is very important to keep the atmosphere. Because during, according to the study by the US, the loss of the atmosphere of Mars is due to because it do not have a strong magnetic field. So the solar wind blows all the atmosphere from the Martian surface to the outer space. So the atmosphere now in the Martian surface is very thin. So if we want to colonize the Mars, we must master these technologies. It is a huge, very huge, the size like a planet level magnetic. Yeah. How can you do that? Yeah. So it is impossible. And also Elon Musk greatly underestimated the difficulty to have a cheap or sustainable transportation system between the Earth and Mars.
Yeah, okay. So you talk about you talk about Mars and also all the crucial environment apart from the Earth. So I have it kind of reminds me of one of my personal questions. You think the lives outside of Earth is very the chances are very small, but that is for carbon-based life. So what about the silicon-based life? Are there
very good question. So theoretically speaking, carbon, because why carbon can support life forms? Because it has 4 keys. It has 4 keys. The carbon element has 4 keys. Yeah. And also silicon is similar because silicon and carbon belongs to the same family. Yeah. This is the reason. But you see, for a silicon-based life form, that must be in a very quite different physical environment. For you see, to form the similar chemicals or components like the carbon-based ones, the silicon need a different pressure, need a different temperature. That must be very, very different from the Earth. Yeah. So you see that on the Earth, we have water, we have the carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
We have all these kind of things, and which can also have the methane. Methane is believed that which is very important for the beginning, the origin of life forms. And as I mentioned, we discussed why we want to explore Titan, because Titan have an ocean of methanes. So this is for the carbon-based life forms.
Yeah.
But this is greatly related to the form of water. Must be in liquid form.
Yeah.
But for the silicon, it's quite different, because you saw that for the form very complex organic chemicals, it must have a different physical condition. I mean, the pressure, the temperature. So this kind of life form must be very hard for Earth to understand in other celestial bodies outside the solar system. So theoretically speaking, it's possible, but not on the solar system.
Okay, great answer. So last question is that last topic is about the space travel. I think many people will be interested in this topic. So, but before that, it all fundamentally go back to one theme: the space travel's cost. So I want to talk about the rocket recycling technology first. So what about that? What's the progress in China about the rocket recycling technology? Because it's not only about the cost, but also about the environmental protection, right?
You asked a great question. The reason is that in recent days, we will have a Long March 8 launch. It's already transferred, you know, that in, you may see the report on the media. It has already transferred from the vehicle assembly building to the launch pad.
Yeah.
Long March 8, although this time we will not recover this launch vehicle, but it is prepared for the future recovery technology or reusable launch vehicle technology.
Yeah.
China has already do some experiments on our Long March 2 series and Long March 4 series. You may notice during some of the launch last year and this year, we have the great rings on the first stage of our launch vehicle. And after it is, the first stage is separated from the second stage, it uses the rotation of the great wings to control its trajectory to have a precise landing. So this is a very necessary step for the future preparation for the future recovery of the launch vehicles, like the SpaceX. But I should emphasize that the first reusable launch vehicle is not the Falcon 9 of SpaceX. It's the Space Shuttle. It is because I emphasize to the media that it is because of the great failure of the Space Shuttle in safety and cost reduction that obstacle the human being to develop the reusable launch vehicle technology. So the space shuttle programs taught us a lesson that we must consider the cost first. And SpaceX gave us a very example in developing these kind of launch vehicles. And also there are examples of other companies. For instance, Europe wants to develop their own reusable launch vehicle, but only recover the engines, because you see that engine is the most expensive part in the launch vehicle.
Yeah.
And also the U.S. company, the so-called Rocket Laboratory, they have own very small launch vehicle called Electron. And they just several days before, they tested to recover their first stage, the first attempt. So they will also develop their reusable launch vehicle. And I should also say that the first, just after the space shuttle, the first recovered vehicle launch vehicle is not achieved by SpaceX. It's by Blue Origin. Blue Origin recovered their Shepard launch vehicle, but that's a very smaller one, much smaller than the Falcon 9. So Falcon 9 is just after the Space Shuttle program. It is the first orbital launch vehicle be recovered, but not the first launch vehicle to be recovered. Yeah. So Blue Origin has its New Shepard launch vehicle to have what you mentioned, the space tourism. Yeah. But you see that I emphasize to the media that many times that for the orbital visit, orbital space tourism is still a business for billionaires, even not for millionaires. Yeah. So because you see that if you want to go into the orbit, you must accelerate yourself to a speed about 7.8 kilometers per second. For instance, our Shenzhou spaceship, the lift-off mass is nearly 500 metric tons, and the propellant is more than 400 metric tons. Yeah. So even if the whole vehicle is reusable, even you don't need any cost of the launch vehicle itself, what about the price of the 400 tons of propellant? So it's very, very expensive. Yeah. And even the fact is that the most of the cost of the launch vehicle is not the propellants. Maybe it's only 1% or several percent, but most of the cost coming from the vehicle itself. So I don't believe that Elon Musk can reduce the cost of a launch service to 1%. Maybe 10% is possible, but 1% impossible. So still, for orbital space tourism, we still have a long way to go. But we should sing high praise of the Blue Origins and also the Virgin Galactic. They are doing their best efforts to provide us the chances for our common people, not billionaires, to have experience a suborbital space tourism. So they don't go into the orbit, but just go into the altitude more than 100 kilometers, just above the so-called common line, and with this, the tourists can experience a similar vision of the astronaut. So to see the curve of the horizon of the Earth and the dark sky, very similar to the astronaut. And also during the whole process, they can experience several minutes of weightless environment. So this is very similar to the, although only a very short period, but at least it brings a chance for the human being. And also, I want to say that Elon Musk mentioned that during the International Astronautical Congress in Guadalajara, Mexico, that he mentioned that in the future he can reduce the cost for one trip mission from Earth to the Moon, Earth to Mars, less than $200,000 US.
Yeah, I've
you heard of that?
Yeah.
At that moment, I was just I was there, but still too far away from the stage.
Yeah.
At that moment, I have a wish. I want to rush to the stage and gamble with him. You don't need to bring me to the Mars. You just to bring me to the low Earth orbit. Okay. $200,000 US. I want to pay you now. Can you do that? He can't.
I can register now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it is. I believe that it is impossible for the human being to reduce the cost for the orbital visit to $200,000 US. So at current stage, with the current technologies, we cannot do that.
Okay.
It is impossible.
Okay, so we can see that due to the rocket recycling technology, not only American companies like SpaceX, but also some Chinese companies like iSpace and other companies, they go into the market to commercialize the space technology, to explore the space. So I talked to their CFO once to talk about the space travel cost, and he kind of think that it will happen in near future, but not, like from the Earth to the Moon, but go to the orbit and then see the horizon of the Earth and come back. So how far are we to achieve that goal, like to make this trip, space travel trip, not only for the elites, but for normal people, to everyone? How far are we to achieve that?
As we discussed, for the suborbital space tourism, it will happen next year. Or sooner or later, several years later. So it will happen very soon.
Will you register for it?
But it is still
risky?
No, not risky. I'm willing to do that, but still a little bit expensive for me.
Okay.
So it need the price ticket is also, even this suborbital visit, the price is more than $200,000 US. So some of Chinese, actually, some friends from I know have already paid for this ticket.
Wow.
Already do that. So in the future, maybe it can be reduced a little. So maybe more people can have this kind of chances.
Yeah.
But still, for the orbital launch, no, only the billionaires can afford it.
Okay, got it. So thank you for today's live streaming. I've learned a lot, and thank you so much for interacting with us. And thank you again, Mr. Yang, to join me in the studio to do this live streaming to talk about all the history and development of the Chinese space exploration, as well as the US and other countries' space exploration. And I wanted to show respect again to all the space pioneers. They have all sacrificed and used their bravery spirit to inspire us to continue to do the space exploration, to find the final answer and the final destiny of our all humankind. So thank you again for interacting with us, and thank you again, Mr. Yang. And please subscribe to my channel, Ms.Wow, on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Ms.Wow, thank you so much for coming. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.